Welcome back, everybody, to game number 2 of MUFC versus Evil Geniuses. This is day number 5 of G1 League group stage action. I am LD, and joining me is the man, the myth, the legend, Draskyl himself. Draskyl, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good. I'm actually quite pleased that we managed to get this game started, and apparently the fourth time is a charm, not the third. Is way to wait for the admin to actually disconnect from the game, ironically enough, to get things going. And game number 1, MUFC had a pretty strong showing. Their early laning phase, I'll be honest, I had my doubts, but they managed to turn around in the back of a couple of team fights, put EG on the back foot, excuse me, for pretty much the remainder of the game, and ultimately just kind of snowballed that into a win in the back of their very, very farm Tiny, Sand King, and Bat Rider. So we'll see if they can pull it off in game number 2.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see how the draft unfolds. Last game we saw EG first picking a bounty hunter and giving it to Fear. Fear normally plays the safe lane farmer. Occasionally you'll see him play something mid, like a Chaos Knight in a dual lane, but generally he plays that farming role. In that game he played an offlane bounty hunter. He was pulled some regen. He got a lot of farm, he got a lot of levels, and then 35 minutes into the game he was 0-2 and 2, I believe, or 0-2 and 4 maybe. He had very low kill participation for that stage of the game, and they got very few track kills. Really didn't work out for them. Still, I think the bounty hunter is worth the first pick. I just would like to see it be used a little bit more aggressively. Go for those kills earlier. Don't just sit in your lane and farm. Let's see how the draft unfolds. Both teams really taking their time. Nowadays, you can't ban out even close to everything, so something good will be slipping through. Most of the strong solo heroes still available. Looks like AG, interesting to see they ban out the TA, because I guess MUFC loves to go for the Bat Rider, which kind of protects that pick, but I feel like it's a hero nowadays that can be countered fairly well.
It can be countered, but you also have to think of it in terms of back before Invoker got his slew of nerfs, when people used to always dual lane against Invoker before TA was even available to play because of the fact that there was nothing that could one-on-one versus that hero. It basically makes it so you're committing 2 heroes to stopping 1, and that's almost an automatic win in another lane if you're the person who has the Invoker in your team. And I kind of feel like TA forces the same issue. You can counter it with a Bat, you can counter it with a Veno, but those are really cheeky roles, and honestly, even in the mid-game, if you put a Bat Rider against a TA, the Bat Rider is still susceptible to death if one person comes to roam on you. So it's not like you completely shut down the TA's mid-game, it's more of, I'm going to be annoying during the laning phase. And Bat Rider is annoying versus every hero, so if you're going to take the Bat Rider, you would take him for the same reason regardless. I just feel as though TA is one of those picks where, if you take it out, then it completely alleviates the fact for seeing a TA during the mid-game with really, really good farm, just blinking into towers and just diving you all over the map. And since a lot of teams, not just MUFC, but every single one that I can think of off the top of my head can run a very effective TA, there's just too much potential for that hero to snowball.
I agree, and I think it's a fair statement. I like seeing TAs get shut down. I really enjoy seeing that hero just completely denied, because it's such a pain in the butt to lane against her in a pub game. So, always hoping in my heart of hearts to see Bat Rider just stomp all over TA. So that's just me talking. But EG first picking the Bat Rider this time. It's almost always Demon who plays it, and he normally goes into the off lane with it. I think we're going to see them go back to sort of the more standard roles. Sometimes he'll start off in the jungle, get a couple of levels there, and then he's off to the off lane. If they don't pressure him, he'll stay there from the start. And it's Demon, so he always goes for the boots first. Occasionally gets pulled regen. This is a pretty wide open first pick, and a powerful lane controller can be played as a solo mid, or even just as a straight jungler, but that's generally not what EG does with him.
Yeah, I agree. They kind of go for the demon off lane, and oftentimes, even in a 1v2, he's been known to do quite well just because of how good of a laner Bat Rider is. You can fly off the map, even in your off lane, which I don't know if that's supposed to be intentional or not, but it's pretty ridiculous. You can get away from almost any gank, given you have a little bit of a head start to get away from it using that Firefly. And he's just good mid-game. The hero is ridiculously powerful, and MUFC goes for a fast Disruptor and Queen of Pain, so their team fight is already looking to take shape here quite a bit. They could just as easily put Queen of Pain in off lane as they could put her mid. I feel like mid is probably going to be her role. That's just inviting an Invoker pick, I think. Ever since the second base damage nerf that he's received, Queen of Pain kind of bullies him in lane now. I mean, you're forced to go Exort super early, which means that your exchanges with the Queen of Pain and Shadow Strike is not ever going to really bring you out ahead unless you manage to land a Sunstrike on her, which I don't think that's going to happen. You can see the cast animation go out when he decides to drop it. So overall, I think that MUFC is picking lanes that they know can win because they already see one lane dominator coming out from EG, and so often nowadays we see teams picking that super early game aggression like Empire, for example, or anybody else really who likes to run heroes like Bane or cheeky stuff like Undying, and they just snowball the game from like the 10-minute mark. So I think MUFC is trying to do kind of a similar style, but by picking very strong early to mid game heroes.
Sorry, just dealing with some audio issues. I guess you're a little bit louder than me. I tried turning you down a tiny bit. I don't think it's a big deal. A lot of other people are saying it's fine. I like the opening with the Disruptor, though, and we saw it last game, and I think you were just talking about this. Just Glimpse ruins that Batrider initiation. You kind of have to catch the Disruptor, but at the same time, he's usually not the hero that you want to focus. You want to focus the Queen of Pain. You want to focus, you know, the other damage dealers. The other heroes, they're getting farm priority, so in that sense, it makes life difficult, sort of along the lines of a Shadow Demon, where he can just mess up your initiation. EG goes for the Shadow Shaman, something I haven't seen them run too often as of late, and then the Jeyo Invoker, and he has always been going Exhort. I haven't seen him go Wex in a long time. So Exhort Invoker, probably the offlane Batrider for Demon, and then the Shadow Shaman, which looks to be a support.
I feel as though this is what MESC wanted. They wanted Evil Geniuses to pick Invoker here. Not necessarily a Shadow Shaman. I feel like that's still a very good pick. Adds a lot of disable to a team who desperately needed it. You already see heroes like Queen of Pain out on the map, and you want to make sure you have that Hex, you have the Shackle to ensure that in team fights you can actually focus her. Because oftentimes with heroes like Disruptor, it's very, very difficult to get into a position. But if you get off your Hex before the Static Storm, that Hex is still going to last full duration. Of course, you're not going to be able to really do a Shackle or anything against the 3 heroes that they have so far. I mean, one of which can blink away. The other one's going to be charging up Illuminate during a fight. And standing still against a Keeper is really not something that you want to do. So I feel like Shadow Shaman might have his own struggles for this game. But it's still very strong mid-game. You have the Mass Serpent Wards. You have that burst damage output with the Ether Shock. And I still feel as though he's one of the strongest overall supports that you can field. It's just nowadays people are valuing tower killing potential less and less and making it so we're going to push the lane really fast with high spam nukes, with Illuminate, with Scream, take team fights when we want to with our high mobility with Queen of Pain, and then push the tower just based on your heroes being dead. I think that's kind of the route that people are starting to take nowadays. And EG kind of has the same thing, but in a more, I would say, hybridized fashion.
Yeah, EG is a team that doesn't really do too much of one thing. They do a little bit of pushing, they do a little bit of farming. Sometimes they win by Fear getting big, sometimes they win by Demon getting great initiations off. Sometimes Jeyo's hitting Sunstreaks all over the map and fire's raining down like hell has erupted from the earth. So it's a little bit of everything. Once in a while we do see the maelk Black Holes, although lately hasn't been getting to play that Enigma too much, and probably not the best game to be an Enigma with Disruptor just being such an annoying hero to deal with him to get the BKB. So we'll see. I mean, EG at this point, the draft, they kind of commit as far as their lanes go. We could see a jungle Batrider again, but generally when they run it, it's been the offlaner for them. MUFC, Keeper of the Light, this could be their offlane. It could be a component of a tri-lane. They don't have that hard farmer. They maybe have room for a jungler if they just want to run one run one support in that safe lane. But we'll see. So probably going to be either a Ken or an Ohaiyo Queen of Pain. Occasionally they'll play Queen of Pain as their one position, their primary farmer, but generally it's that too. Generally it goes solo mid and doesn't get quite as much farm.
Queen of Pain's just a really solid middle around. I mean, she has great rune control. She can definitely get there before an Invoker can. There's no doubt about that. Invoker has 285 base move speed. That's incredibly slow. It's one of the slowest. I think, isn't 285 the lowest base move speed out of any hero in the game? I think that's about as low as it goes. There might be a 280 in there somewhere, but I know 285 is very, very low. So at this point, they ban out the Dirge, so they don't want EG to have anything like an early game team fight. They don't want to have a Chen either because it's one of maelk's go-to heroes, but Enigma, like you said, is still available. The only downside to picking Enigma in this case is that there are still really, really hard heroes to black hole. I mean, Queen of Pain's not really going to be in a position that much unless you want to go for a first item blink, and then if you do that, you sacrifice your early mech. I don't know if they're going to go for a jungler or if they're just going to go a full on tri-lane at this point, but as it stands, MUFC and EG, I think, kind of have even picks. It's just going to be down to execution, which is the kind of game that you want to watch, and just see how the laning phase kind of pulls out for both sides.
I agree. Naga Siren, Tiny, PL, all the carries being banned. I don't know that I've seen MUFC run the Phantom Lancer, but hey, when you pick up a Keeper of the Light, those two together, and especially if Disruptors, they're very annoying. Okay, so this is what we saw yesterday. I don't think you watched these matches, but EG played against FTFC. What they did was they used the Batrider as a Nyx bomb, or Lifestealer bomb. So Lifestealer infests inside Batrider, you Firefly, often smoked, you getting close, blink in, and then Fear pops out and just goes to work. It was really effective, to the point of being ridiculous. It was a free farm anti-mage who just kept on dying with his Battle Fury when he was like level 12 in the mid game. So And I should also add, when they did this, they went for triple Midas. I don't know if they'll do it this game, but Lifestealer went for Midas, Jeyo went for Midas on the Invoker, and they just tried to outfarm their opponents and then counter the AM's free farm by just having 2-3 Midases up around the map and getting a lot of heroes big.
Well, Lifestealer is, I feel, very undervalued in a lot of games, especially once you get open wounds to max level. It's actually a fairly good disable. It's only on a 12-second cooldown, and it's a 70% slow starting out. Obviously, teeters off, but it's 8 seconds of slow. It's kind of like Gale in that regard. His burst damage is absolutely insane. His survivability against the kind of team that MUFC has already fielded is spectacular. I mean, Keeper of the Light Illuminate does nothing. You can just rage off Mana Leak and the Blind when he's in his ult form. You can do the same thing for Queen of Pain's damage, and you can actually rage and walk out of a kinetic field. Magic Immunity makes kinetic field useless. It doesn't keep you trapped in there once you finally popped it. So unless they catch him out before he rages with the Static Storm, then I think they're going to be feeling relatively safe, and they're going to go with a Night Stalker. And, you know, Night Stalker is another hero who can lock down Lifesteal, but it's based on when you catch him. If you catch him with his rage up, then you're pretty much going to get disintegrated. If you don't, or if you do catch him with his rage down, you can kill him. And he's actually very, very weak when he doesn't have that magic immunity. Right. So, again, it's picking your engagements. It's making sure that you know if you can catch him out or not. And if you don't kill him fast enough, he can infest into another hero, like you said, like Bat Rider Invoker, or a creep. He's very, very difficult to gank in the early game, even with a Night Stalker. And EG is going to round things out with the Nature's Prophet. So, picking a lot of heroes with early game aggression and then a Nature's Prophet, I feel as though they just wanted a hero to put Demon on at this point, because after seeing that, I have a very hard time believing that they're going to use an offlane Bat Rider. I feel like they're just going to jungle the Bat and put the Nature's Prophet top, because he kind of needs the experience.
You say that, you say that when they ran it yesterday, Bat Rider was the offlane and Prophet was being played by maelk and just jungling. And Demon got shut down early in the offlane, but what they were doing is maelk was stacking the creeps for Demon, so Demon was able to catch up later on with Firefly and Sticky Napalm. So we'll have to see if they do the same thing. And when they ran this lineup, it was against an anti-mage who was getting free farm. And they went for 3 Midases on the Prophet, the Lifestealer, and the Invoker. And they said, okay, we'll give your AM free farm, but we're going to get 3 heroes big. We're going to get 2 Hexes up early, and a Lifestealer does a lot of damage. And once we have our Blink on Bat Rider, we're not afraid of that one really fat anti-mage. But this feels like a different game. MUFC have a lot of heroes that don't need big items to get involved, that are very difficult to kill. I would say even harder to kill than an AM in some ways. And they rounded out with a Broodmother.
A Broodmother is definitely a great pick here. Do you mind really fast if we restart the Skype call before things kind of get underway? Because
sure.
You are roboting right now for me, and I can barely understand a word you're saying.
Okay. All right, we should be back in business. Although I don't hear you at all right now.
Hello?
Hey. You were fine for me, by the way, so at least the viewers weren't getting the robotics. And before I forget, let's bring the live game screen up. Actually, real quickly, I forgot to do this last game, but guys, let's just take a real fast look at the standings. So we're in Group A right now, and it's MUFC who are now 1-2. If they lose this game, they'll be 1-3. They'll have 1 point. If EG lose this game, EG is going to be 1-3. So a lot at stake here. Whoever wins this game is going to have the leg up on their opponents, and these 3 teams, EG and SQL and MUFC, those are the teams that are likely to be knocked out of this group. 1 team gets eliminated after the group stages. But anyway, we'll jump back into the game. And Draskyl, I think everything is sorted out on your end, I hope?
You still kind of roboting out for me, but it's fine. I'll manage. I can still understand you. Sometimes you just kind of boop out. And
do you want to call me? I mean, maybe that would help.
I can try to call you directly before things start happening. Let me try that really fast. If it doesn't, then it doesn't. We can just keep on casting. No big deal.
Okay.
30 seconds to battle.
Well, while Draskyl waits to call me back, or while we wait for him to call me back, I should say. Don't know why I'm bringing up the gold graph, to be honest. Just trying to keep one eye on Skype and one eye on the game. Guess it was Draskyl. He'll be back in a few moments. In the meantime, I will introduce the players. Net playing that support role he always does. As the disruptor, you'll notice the lane ward to make sure. Okay, they're gonna do a switch, so it'll be Fear jungling. Now, actually, I think they did this before, and then they swapped Demon and they swapped Fear. That might have been what they did. I can't remember offhand. Well, either way, maelk playing the Prophet in the offlane for the moment. Jeyo going to be playing the Invoker solo mid. Fear will start in the jungle, maybe doing some pulling from the small camp. towards the middle lane. bdiz playing that Shadow Shaman, supporting him, and now Draskyl is calling me. Hey, bud.
Okay,
Hey,
so
buddy.
I don't know what my problem is. I think my internet might be lagging, but the issue is still there. My Skype crashed. I've tried to fix it. It doesn't work. We'll drop it for now. But, I mean, looking at the lanes, it's going to be a Brood down here versus a Bat and a Shadow Shaman, and there are level 1 sentries, so life is going to be rough for Ohaiyo at the moment.
Yeah, and they have a pretty good kill lane. I mean, not only do they have the lockdown from the Shadow Shaman, but they also have the Firefly and Sticky Napalm, which... Sure, Broodmother's got a bit of an escape spell, just having that move speed, but really, if you're able to catch her once the Bat Rider hits level 2, hits level 3, not sure she can stand against this, and I think that's why we're seeing the Lifestealer in the jungle instead of the Bat Rider, is primarily, and the Prophet in the offlane, is because they need to deal with this Brood, and Lifestealer can't really do anything against Brood compared to a hero like that.
Well, maelk's going to be able to get something here, but he's not going to be able to get much, and Brood still has to stay far back. The one thing about Brood that's really nice is when she used to be played competitively a lot and people knew exactly how to deal with her, kind of the way that they are right now, Brood recovery rate is insanely fast. You get 3 or 4 ranks into the spawn spiderlings, you can farm insanely fast, you can farm the enemy's jungle as well. You start putting your webs up in there once you get a couple more ranks into spin, and then you get to a point where you have to commit 2 or 3, maybe even more than that, just to be able to kill the Brood Mother at all. And given the fact that they don't have a whole lot of hard disable, they basically have a lasso, and then Shadow Shaman, and that's it. One of those heroes pretty much has to be there, and jeyo's taking quite a bit of harassment mid, actually, from Ken here, playing on this Night Stalker, and picking Invoker in the first place I feel is like a little bit of a risk. And he did Sunstrike, actually. Might drop here, one more auto attack from the low ground, will land, but he flasks up between to ensure that doesn't get the kill, and jeyo's doing quite a good job of shutting down Night Stalker mid. I didn't feel like he would be able to play this aggressive and get away with it.
I don't know about this build. The last time that we saw this matchup yesterday, the Night Stalker just rushed a bottle, and I think once you get the bottle, the lane gets much easier. You can just start spamming Void to last hit. Clarity Potion even get cancelled. You can also use a tiny bit to push the lane just to help you get those runes. But he's going to get a regen in bottom, so life is now hunky-dory for Ken again. That is the best thing, man. When you're having trouble in your lane, and oh, he might actually die to a Sunstrike! He will! First blood for jeyo! Unbelievable. And that was going to be the lane completely turned back around, so the Night Stalker would have been fine. What a time for a Sunstrike.
If he just hadn't been waiting for his bottle to come on the courier, he wouldn't have died there. He went from being like in really good shape to crap in about 1 second, because that Sunstrike, I gotta say, that was a pretty huge play. And you know, it's not so often that we see defensive warding coming out of teams like EG, especially when they're laning like this, and I think that's because of the fact that they are against a Night Stalker, but around the time that the first ward fades is when the Night comes anyway, and the Night Stalker starts his movement. So I don't know if I agree with the ward placement so much, but it did ultimately give them a kill out of it, so I think it's already paid for itself at this point.
maelk is only level 1. He gets glimpsed back. Sharky to go. 1 auto attack does get the kill, and this is the downside to the Prophet offlane, is he's very squishy, he's not escapable, at least not until he hits 2, and even then you can glimpse him back, so this is not going well. I wonder if maelk should just be in the jungle. One thing you can do is just sit on this cliff near the on the radiant side of the map, in between the bottom tier 2 and the mid tier 2, and just farm this camp from here. Now Fear is farming it, but I think there's plenty of other camps for Fear to farm. I'm not really liking maelk in this top lane. I don't think it's doing a whole lot for the team.
Well, as time goes on, maelk's going to need to try to get something done. If he has to rotate to the jungle, then so be it. But at this point, if he stays in the lane, then he's basically giving the opportunity for MUFC to pick him off again, and I don't really think that's the right call. Whenever you have a defensive try, it's very standard for them to ward the lane, and he's just going to walk straight in to Disruptor again and take a free nuke right there. So, I mean, life is definitely rough for him. I think if he goes and kills a small camp or the medium camp or something, tries to do what the old Dark Series used to do and get like level 3 or 4 before they go to their offlane at all to make sure they can actually TP to a fight, because right now he has 25 experience to his name. He is being completely shut down comparative to the Brood, who is already level 4, and that sentry that was placed early on is just not really keeping it back anymore. It's obviously faded since then. But there's another sentry in B's inventory. He just knows that there's no point.
Mid lane, Ken decides to get aggressive, and in comes a party of EG heroes. bdiz got an invis rune, and that's going to be an easy counter kill. And jeyo, I'm expecting to see the Midas for him. He's got a lot of gold. He had the first blood. Fear's going for it as well. So we're going to see at least the double Midas. I don't know if maelk's even going to farm one by the 20-minute mark at this rate, as Sharky jumps in on him. Disruptor just in range for the Thunder Strike, and that's going to be another kill. Sharky getting fat, that is a concern, but at least the Night Stalker's being kept down a bit. Broodmother having a decent time. As long as Night Stalker and Queen of Pain aren't both having a great start, these two really want to gank together in the mid game. So I think it's okay for EG. They are going to have these Midases up pretty quickly, but again, maelk is quickly becoming a huge liability for this team. And he might die again, by the way. He might die again right now.
Yeah, he teleported up here, and he wasted his TP. He's actually got a clarity on right now, and it looks like a Sunstrike is going to come down from middle lane. It's going to hit on Disruptor. He's solo. Is he going to drop to the tree? And he does, so maelk actually gets a kill. Illuminate on the backside from Jing, but it's not really going to matter. A little bit tardy to the party, but instead of getting killed, he baits a kill himself, and one of his treants who hit for a whopping 22 damage secures him a little bit of golden experience.
And now we're seeing what Demon did in the previous games. One of the supports was stacking these camps. I think he stacked them at least once as well, and Batrider can start off in the lane and then transition to the jungle. The odd thing, though, is that they're not putting someone bottom to farm while he's doing this. This is giving more time to the Broodmother. Jeyo up to 1850. Any second now that Midas is going to come out. It's a little bit riskier to go for the Midases, though, because in this game, you're up against heroes who can punish that, just constantly gank you. Generally, the times when Midas works is when they can't gank you and you're just able to farm safely. I don't know, even though they've killed Nightstalker a few times, he doesn't need that many items to start setting up kills, and this is a free farm Queen of Pain. Sharky is actually our most farmed hero on the map, so this is risky, but it does look like they're going to go for it.
Well, I mean, Nightstalker, this is the time where he needs to be his most effective. The first night for an NS is the most important night. He's actually opted to go for a point into darkness rather than getting 2 points into Hunter in the night, which means he's prolonging it just a little bit longer. It's not too much, it's only 25 seconds at rank 1, but it still gives MUFC more time, and that's really what they need. They want this night to last as long as possible, apply some pressure, and between the Brood and the Nightstalker both, there's a lot that EG have to account for in this game, and heroes like Shadow Shaman, they don't have escape mechanisms to get away from ganks like that. Even heroes like Invoker, Batrider, and Nature's Prophet all feel very susceptible to a Nightstalker gank in the first place, so positioning is going to be pretty important here, and Sharky's doing some more harassment top lane onto maelk, forcing him back to the tower once again. And I mean, yep, bdiz is probably going to get cut out here.
Glimpse backwards, big mistake by Net, but I don't think that's going to matter. bdiz looking to be very dead. Ken comes in, rather Fear comes in, Sunstrike is not going to hit, unfortunate, Cold Snap going through. But Ken pretty tanky, pretty difficult to lock down. Net, however, is not. Even Broodmother has found her way all the way to this party. Do they have sentries to deal with her? No, they do have a Dust, though, on Demon, and Brood is wisely going to back off. EG, with 4 heroes, actually, was that 5 heroes? I believe it was converging on this engagement. And in the end, Disruptor traded off for that support Shadow Shaman.
Well, at this point, losing the Shadow Shaman right there for a Disruptor, I think that's something that MUFC is going to be happy with, because if they can delay bdiz getting level 6, that means that his push potential is going to be completely thwarted, where Disruptor still feels effective without his ultimate. You have Glimpse, you have the Kinetic Field at your disposal, the Vision from Thunderstrike is definitely great. A very underrated aspect of the ability, by the way, the fact that you can see people walking up to the high ground even if you use it on them. I mean, it's a very, very strong early game hero, and so is Shadow Shaman, but because of the fact that he's maxing out Shackle instead of Hex, he wants to make sure that he can balance his mana out a little bit better, and it's going to be so hard for him to really channel that against anyone in an early game team fight. So now they're leaving him alone to get that level 6, so he can get those Mass Serpent Wards and really feel like he has a presence on the map. And MUFC, again, I feel as though early game, their lanes are just a little bit better than EG had the lane advantage in game 1, but now you've given MUFC a lane advantage. What's going to happen mid-game? That's kind of what I'm worried here for EG.
What EG are hoping for is to farm. It's the double Midas. Again, we'll have to see if maelk goes for it. Firefly and the Dust popped. Ohaiyo pulled back into the tower, as well as the Sunstrike is gonna miss, unfortunately. And now Demon in some trouble. Queen of Pain joins this fight. Thunderstrike to bring Demon low. One more blink. The haste ring gonna wear off. And is he gonna get away? Queen of Pain nails him with a beautiful blink. Nice prediction there by Sharky. Having the vision just barely on the Firefly. Prophet, too underleveled to help. If he had had a little bit of a better time. Broodmother actually finds another kill on Shadow Shaman as I move the camera away. So 2 kills. And this Queen of Pain starting to get aggressive. She's starting to get active. Still our lead farmer as far as I can tell. Yeah, in fact, up to 4,400 net worth. Is going to be able to buy her next item yet. I mean, whether it's the BKB rush, a Hex rush, or even just getting a point booster towards that Aghanim's, that means she's not really an easy kill, and EG, they don't have that much lockdown. It's Cold Snap, maybe the Shackle from the Shadow Shaman, although that's unreliable, and then it's the Net, which you can't always count on getting. There's no Blink yet for Demon, he's still 400 gold away. So all in all, MUFC really exerting their control on this map, and Broodmother is becoming an issue. Level 9 at 9 minutes, you compare that to maelk, he's only 5.
Well, this is to be expected. Even if you buy sentries at level 1 against a hero like Brood, we talked about how she's going to get her experience, she's going to get her gold. That's where the strength of the hero lies. It's not so much in the fact that she can be a silent pusher, which she obviously does quite well, but it's the fact that you can't really ever shut her down completely unless there's a lane that she can't even get an experience range against. And a bat is one of the most aggressive early game heroes you can get, and Demon is being annoyed by these little spiderlings in the back. But for the most part, Brood is so hard to pressure hard enough to force her back. And now the fact that MUFC has had their early game start, their laning phase went quite well. Their Queen of Pain's the highest CSR on the map at this point, and one of the highest farmers as well. She can move around wherever she wants. If she wants to go for a quick Ags, which I feel like would be the right call in this situation, I don't feel like she needs a BKB, but if she gets the extra HP from Aghanims, lowers the cooldown on her ultimate, that just gives MUFC more potential to fight whenever they want. They don't have to worry about big ultimates necessarily at this point. I mean, really, the biggest ultimate they have is Static Storm at this point on Disruptor and Queen of Pain's ulti, which once you get Scepter, the cooldown is 40 seconds at level 16. So they can just take fights whenever. That's pretty much the goal of their team. Apply pressure, open room for the Brood, which kind of sounds backwards because most of the time Brood is the hero that you make, or that makes room for you. I think that MUFC is kind of doing it both ways. Brood gives you room by pushing and just being annoying, and they have Night Stalker, Queen of Pain to take team fights whenever you want.
It should also be pointed out that this Brood is kind of limiting their jungle farm as well. She's blocking camps earlier with the spider lane, she's been farming them occasionally. And when you have this many heroes that can do well and kind of want to be in the jungle for EG, the Bat Rider, the Life Stealer, and the Prophet, it's affecting how much farm they can even pull out of it. Whereas for MUFC, Queen of Pain's constantly in the lane, Broodmother's constantly in the lane, even while the spider lanes are farming elsewhere. The TP's coming down towards the bottom lane. Fear's going to pop the Rage very early. I'm not sure if he'll be able to escape with that. Don't want to dive on the bdiz though, at least not yet. In comes the final component of this. It's a smoked up net. The net is closing. How appropriate. Ohaiyo dives in, leading the charge. bdiz infested inside, and that's going to be a horrible trap, a horrible place to be. Quick double kill for Sharky. Sunstrike not going to land, and now the tier 1 to fall. And nothing as far as the trade-off goes for EG. maelk just farming the top lane, Jeyo just farming the mid lane, but not getting towers and not getting kills at this point.
That was a really painful loss right there from EG. They lost their carry too, and they went double Midas like you expected. And this is an inherent risk that we talk about all the time, and not just us, but any casting pretty much pairing that goes together. It's Midas is an item that basically says, I'm not going to fight for another like 10-15 minutes, so please leave me alone. And you do that against two heroes who have some of the best presence in the game during mid, which is Brood and Night Stalker. And even Queen of Pain, I would say to a certain extent, has that kind of feel as well. So I mean, MUFC, they can pretty much do whatever they want. They can apply pressure, they can go for more early game towers, they can seal the tier 1, maybe go for a Roshan attempt. I mean, the options for MUFC I feel like are endless, and EG has basically pigeonholed themselves into sitting back and doing something passive like farming so the Invoker and the Life Stealer get enough items to where they can actually stand and fight. But on the flip side, if you end up losing all your map control before the Midas pays for itself, then the Midas really won't ever pay for itself because you can't get the towers back. You can't get the map control back unless you start winning team fights. And since those towers give you gold inherently anyway, we're talking about a potential Roche out of MUFC. That's going to hurt things a lot as well. Maybe EG has kind of banked a little bit too much on their capability to farm.
Right, just look at the positioning right now. The way that MUFC is infesting this jungle. Broodmother already got the tier 1 knockdown after that fight, and look at the Illuminating Blast! bdiz just instantly brought down from full HP. Now Demon retreating. He's picked up the Blink, but who else can fight with him? And then the recall from Ling. This is one of the nice things that you can do. Rage forced out just to block a Shadow Strike, but your carry can be farming at one side of the map, be as efficient as possible, then just like a Spectre, whenever that hero needs to be there, just recall them into the fight. Unfortunately, EG is starting to do their split push thing, and this was one of the strengths of the lineup, is the double Forge Spirit and the Prophet. Gives you a decent amount of counter push, so you can try and stall the game out that way. Night Stalker ganky mid, but it's daytime. Sharky comes in, Scream to follow, shackled in range of the tower, Sunstrike as well. Gonna bring him low and gonna kill him off, too much nukes. Meanwhile, on the back end of play, maelk did take a fall to that Disruptor. And when it's all said and done, it's a 2-for-1. Not a bad trade. Disruptor even dying over the course of that fight, so EG's got to be happy with that, and this gives them that time to farm. I mean, whenever you get these kills, whenever you pull ahead in terms of heroes, you get into your jungle, you kill off a couple creeps, you get to use that Midas. It's a big turnaround for them, even if they're not completely dominating the fights, and we're seeing that in the graphs as well.
The double Midas pays for itself in these situations. When you can defend a tower like that, you get a couple of return kills. Your tower basically takes no damage. You kill 2 or 1 very high priority target, I should say, on the Queen of Pain. And the Disruptor as well. I mean, all of that counts. the more time EG buys for themselves right now, that is paramount, because heroes like Brood just force you into a position where you don't have any map control. That's what MUFC's game plan was to restrict the map as much as they can. Every time EG wins a team skirmish like that, it's like twice as effective as I would say in a normal game, because of just the lineup that they're playing against and because of what their own inherent strengths are, which is going towards that late game. I mean, Lifestealer, even against heroes like Nightstalker late, Nightstalker doesn't have the greatest of scaling. What are they really going to have to deal with that? Their Queen of Pain's essentially at one point going to have to change up his build, maybe go for an MKB. I think it's something that could be thought about for her, because you get Nakes, a couple of items, you get the Armlet up, you get a Desolator, AC, whatever build he decides to go, he can rage and kill 2 people. Like, that's how much damage that hero can do in a burst. So MUFC definitely realizes that, and they're going to smoke up bottom here.
And they want to go on Demon. Unfortunately, not going to be able to use that Blink Dagger because the Blink Scream did hit him. He's flying along the wall again. This is so cheesy. Great play by Demon. He'll escape in the end. The Illuminating Blast just a few seconds too late. And that's a lot of time wasted. This buys time for maelk to farm up in the top lane. It's buying time for Fear to farm in the jungle. When these ganks fail, it's bad, but this is good. Jeyo gets pulled back into the Static Storm. Queen of Pain is the ult. It's going to unleash it. The Spiderlings probably going to be the end of Jeyo. They will be. bdiz now retreating. An army of Spiderlings bailing down on him. And once again, Sharky blinking forward. One more auto attack. Is not going to get that kill because Broodmother snipes it. So a little bit of a stutter step there, but they do find the 2 kills in the end. EG getting caught out of position. Invoker going down. And for Sharky, this is more of the Southeast Asian style Queen of Pain, and the way the Chinese have been playing it lately is, if you have a decent start, if you're farming in that safe lane, just rush the Hex. They don't seem to go for Ags. They generally aren't going for BKB unless they really need it. And in this game, it's not going to help you that much against the Lasso. So I like this adjustment. An early Hex on Sharky is just going to be so difficult for EG. You talked about losing control of your jungle. That makes it even more dangerous to be in your jungle.
Well, the tier 2 is going to drop. Now EG pretty much has to defensively ward for the majority of the game. They are probably going to have vision of Rosh, and actually they definitely will if MUFC wants to go for it, but what can they do? I mean, I feel like in terms of fighting around the Rosh pit, no real team has a distinct advantage. Maybe Batrider's Firefly is a little bit effective, but Queen of Pain in close quarters is just as bad, and top lane, looks like they were attempting to gank Ken right there, but he does have a Quelling Blade for that Sprout, so there's no chance they can actually catch him. So now MUFC opening up that space, like I said, the tier 1 for EG, I think, is going to be their last primary target before they feel like they can really sit back and not really apply too much more pressure. But again, those Midas, it's been about 5 or 6 minutes.
Here comes
actually,
the
it's
Demon
been longer
Bomb.
than that.
It is, and this is something else that can give EG more time, is the Demon Bomb, where he's got the smoke up, he's got the blink, and he's infested by Fear. Now remember, Fear isn't farming during this time, so you really need to find kills. Smoke is going to be popped, there's no wards here, this should be the death of Ling. Or maybe that top lane is not as easy of a target to pick off, but they do have some good burst. I think they're going to find him here. Where's the Firefly? Waiting patiently. Could get revealed. It's going to go for the Keeper of the Light instead. Blinking onto lane, pulling him back. Out pops the Lifestealer, and then the Sunstrike. Jeyo snipes it. He stole a lot of kills when they ran this strategy the last time. But it's going to get a little experience and gold for that, and now they look to push the top lane. MUFC, they want to get this mid tower, and it looks like Sharky going to at least attempt for it. Not sure if he'll be able to bring it down in time.
Well, at this point, they pick somebody off, they're going to get a tower for it. That's definitely a good thing, but Mid is being pressured a tiny bit by Sharky. He's going to be forced back by Jeyo for the moment. But again, these are big wins for EG. It's much worse for MUFC to get picked off and lose a tower like that than it would be for EG because of the fact that, again, those Midas, I mean, it's going to be the point that we come back to. This game, the longer it goes, EG is definitely going to come out a little bit ahead. But if MUFC can continue their pressure, get the last couple of targets that they really need, like this tower mid, it's quite low right now. It's only at about a third HP. And then they open up the possibility to go for Rosh, or they open up the possibility to smoke and go across the map and go for a gank. It takes away the farming room that EG desperately needs. But whenever they lose a teamfight like that, they open up space. They say, okay, our keeper just got picked off. We're not going to go top to react. The tower is dead. We'll leave it. That buys EG time. That gives them an opportunity to come back. And I think that MUFC is a smart enough team to realize that. And eventually, they're just going to get sick of it and group up and try to go for a team fight and maybe just leave the Brood off to try to push a lane elsewhere. But since this Tier 2 is already dead, the room for Brood to really feel that effective is kind of diminishing here as well.
It is a bit. The silence could still be very potent, though. Lifestealer, yes, he's got rage, but can't activate it while he's silenced. That Orchid can be annoying. She does also apply Incapacitating Bite and has the lifesteal. I'm not sure late game she can really deal with a farmed Lifestealer, but can at least delay him from doing what he wants to do in these fights. And also, farming their jungle. EG are not farming it. They're farming the enemy jungle at best, mostly the Prophet doing so. Net a little bit out of position. He gets surrounded, and he's going to get picked off. Really questionable to be there with no support, and he'll pay for it. EG have invested a lot of money into wards. This is exactly what you need to do against the power of the Prophet, as well, or the Night Stalker as well as the Queen of Pain. Just these aggressive gankers from MUFC. But it is costing the supports. bdiz is desperately poor. Sure, they've got the triple Midas, but they do have the Shadow Shaman, who still feels like mincemeat. As the BKB comes up for Night Stalker and as the Queen of Pain, she has money for her Hex now, and I think MUFC are going to go for some timing aggression at this point. I don't see much of a reason to wait around longer and let EG continue to farm.
Especially considering they just Night Stalker Ultimate. The new Night rolls around, and this is basically round 2 for MUFC. They didn't quite accomplish too much, I would say, during the early game. They did manage to get 2 towers down, which, given their lineup, that's pretty much to be expected. And then they got the tier 2 a little bit later after the first night had ended. And Night Stalker's 11 now. He's going for a rush BKB after his phase and his urns, so he definitely wants to try to end the game. When you go for a first item BKB before even Scepter or anything like that on an NS, you're looking to dive. You're not looking to stay passive or anything like that. So now MUFC knows they have the potential. Let's see if they can actually make something happen.
Illuminate Blast just to drive everyone back. It was a blink away from jeyo, just to try and stay defensive. Now the crux of this strategy for EG is getting the multiple hexes up. The hex on the front, is there going to be some aggression? Looks like there's not. Ling blasting away at them. No, still Demon blinks forward. Will there be a glimpse back? There will. It's too late. He dies to the Fear Bomb, and Fear skates away. And this is... They're getting close to these hexes on EG. jeyo's going to have the ultimate orb. He just needs the Mystic Staff, which is still a decent amount of gold to farm. They already have the innate hex from Shadow Shaman as well, so if he can live... They continue to find these pickoffs for Demon, and this is what they did the last time. When they were winning, it was because Demon just finds pickoffs with the Infested Lifestealer, and then they go back and farm. MUFC, I think they really can't afford to be giving away any more kills, because it's not the kills themselves, it's the time it buys for EG.
As long as they're forced into a passive position, then EG wins. And maelk does have mana to TP out here. Is he actually able to get away in time? Nope. Yeah, he's going to get hexed on top with the Silencer, Night Stalker, and a couple of auto attacks. And Sharky gets a free kill, so maelk donating a little bit of gold. And honestly, that pickoff does hurt, but it's not that big of a deal because that pickoff is... Actually, it might be a bigger deal because now they're going for Roshan, so scratch that. I was going to say it wouldn't be a big deal because they can't really do anything, and then I realized that, yeah, they have Rosh capability and very, very high magnitude. So now EG is going to lose Rosh, and again, after that first tier tower died mid, this is kind of what's to be expected. You open up that room, so it takes longer for EG to react to it, and we have people coming over here, but I don't think jeyo's going to be able to do anything solo.
No, in fact, the Meteor's not really going to do that much, only hitting the Spiderlings, only at the end, and Sharky blinked forward, not able to get in range, as jeyo did have his Blink Dagger, did retreat. And now they have the Aegis. The question is, what are they going to do with it? Night Stalker with the BKB up. Who actually picked up the Aegis, by the way? It's the Broodmother of all heroes. I really thought this would go to the Queen of Pain, especially since she didn't go for anything that really gives her survivability. She went... Uh-oh. Demon, really? Demon jumping into a lot of heroes. The backup is on the way, but he's taking some big damage. Queen of Pain is about to join this fight. Ken in the front lines. Ken has the BKB. Sharky blinks forward. Sticky Napalm, preventing that ultimate from being cast. Remember, he does not have the Aegis. Dropping low. Drops a pretty nice ult, but will go down in the end. Broodmother going to work, but going man mode against Fear. Not sure this is going to work. Fear surviving. Now Fear infesting inside a creep. 3 to 4 right now. 2 lives on this Brood, but likely to die twice. Brood unable to fight, and I'm not sure she can deal with the lifesteal anyway. Drops once. Should drop again. A bit of a disaster for MUFC. Throwing away the Aegis. Broodmother going to die twice. And just falling apart. In fact, I think Sharky even bought back. He did, and just didn't do anything with the buyback. MUFC really getting baited hard by Demon there.
That was a really interesting engagement. I mean, they didn't really go for just one target, and because of the fact that Nake's got his rage off, Sharky basically had to cancel cast his ultimate. He didn't really do the burst damage that he wanted to fast enough, and then he overstayed his welcome in the team fight, got cold snapped after his ultimate went off. His blink was off cooldown for about 2 or 3 seconds, but he just wanted to make sure he got his damage off before he exited the team fight. Ended up staying a little bit too long and dropped because of it, and the buyback, like you said, didn't really accomplish much because at that point the team fight's already lost. And really good targeting from EG. They waited until the Broodmother was the last person in the fight before they chose to go for her because they knew that she had the Aegis. And putting the Aegis on that hero in general, just a very questionable choice to say the least. BKB wasn't even done. Typically when you give an Aegis to a hero with a BKB, it allows you to save it for an escape mechanism after the Aegis is already popped. And that way, if they don't go for you, then you pretty much just wreak havoc as if you had a BKB, but if they choose to, then they're basically saying, okay, well, you're going to resurrect, have a BKB anyway. So if they gave it to the Night Stalker, I feel like that fight would have been ridiculously different, because the Brood just doesn't... it's a brood, you know. The fear just doesn't do a whole lot in a team fight.
And especially against this EG squad, there's so many ways to lock her down. A single target, they don't have that many team fight lockdown spells, but if it's 4-on-1, Brood's not doing anything. They have the lasso, they have the hex, they have the shackles, and they also have the Brood in their sights as EG rotates down towards the bottom lane. bdiz still very poor, still buying all the wards for this team, and it doesn't help that maelk continues to die. Really forces bdiz into that 6th position, I would even say. Top lane though, I miss a kill. Sharky dies. It's the infest bomb again. This is how EG just creates so much space for these Midases to pay for themselves, getting these kills, and especially on the Queen of Pain, who had such a powerful start. Now, no longer the most valuable hero. That award goes to the Lifestealer.
Well, that kind of a combination punishes play like that. Typically, a Queen of Pain would feel extremely safe farming in the top lane, and especially in that position. You know, she's not even on the other side of the river yet, and you have to worry about getting blink initiated on by a Lifestealer and a Bat Rider. I mean, that's a scary thing. It makes MUFC think twice about farming solo. And I mean, they have a kind of a team where I feel this is the point in the game where they should be sticking together and trying to force the issue. But because of the fact that Queen of Pain is going to get picked off like that solo, again, more time for EG. Fear is basically just farming in his opponent's woods at this point. He's going for the Mjolnir, so he's almost got it actually. He's only a couple hundred gold away from it. And I mean, Brood can't really push anything anymore. Typically when a lane is 2 towers down, the Brood kind of loses effectiveness because you're not really applying pressure at this point. You're just farming. You're not really making your hero do anything special. So with that being said, the Brood has kind of fallen off a bit at this point. Obviously, the Aegis didn't do anything to help the last team fight. And, I mean, Sharky's died now, what, 2 times in a row? One of them was a buyback? Things are definitely looking a little bit grim here from UFC, I would say.
It is, and it sounds odd on paper because they still have a tier 1 bottom, for Christ's sake. They had the Aegis. It's not going to EG just yet, but it's the hexes that are coming up. Jeyo's already completed his. maelk, actually, he's skippy on this game. He's so far behind, he's just going to build a Necro 3, but even that offers you some utility, offers you some pushing and some DPS to your team, and now the Demon Bomb. Once again, it's this Bat Rider who's looking to make things happen, but MUFC may be wise to this as they're grouped up as 4. Is Demon going to fall right into their trap and Fear along with them? They might. The BKB. Demon is hexed up. Demon's in a lot of trouble. Queen of Pain ultify. Now Fear released. Immediately TPing out. Did he start his TP while he was still infested? You can't even do that. I guess he just TP'd out immediately, but will escape in the end.
It was at the very least, it was a good reaction by Fear. As soon as he saw the kinetic field, he infested Rage TP'd like instantly, and he got his Mjolnir too. So even if he died, it would have definitely hurt. But there's a lot of space now for MUFC to cover whenever they have to push back across the map because of the fact that Demon and Fear are positioning themselves aggressively at this point. That's when the team who's supposed to be the aggressor feels a little bit out of place because normally they're going to be in EG's woods, not the other way around. And this is just opening more room for Jeyo to continue his farm, and he has his Hex finish on top of 1,400 gold and a Blink. So their initiation power is very, very strong. It's just going to be down to whether or not EG can catch anyone out from MUFC. There's still all the Tier 2 standing for MUFC at this point, and they have a 1-tower lead. But things can very, very quickly slip away, especially when you go late game with a Lifestealer, who's basically been free farming for most of the game.
And with the new Rage as well, having 6 seconds instead of 4.75 magical immunity, it adds up. It really does. We saw it in the last fight. They just couldn't. Queen of Pain had to wait so long to release her ult that it really cost them. Net gonna get trapped by the Meteor Deafening Blast, the CIS combo for this Exhort Invoker finds a solo kill, Jeyo style. Nice little play there by him, and more space created as Demon blinks forward. Already used the Blink Dagger. Jeyo blinks forward. Blink City for EG. Lane in some trouble. Gonna be driven back by the Firefly. The supports both getting picked off in a matter of seconds. And now EG can look to push, can look to farm. Really, the world is their oyster after these kills. And in fact, the kills might be on the agenda. Fear really posturing up. And then they're just going to push. It's EG. This is, it's that time bomb of getting this many Midases. And having heroes that scale well. Having Hex Carriers, having a Lifestealer. MUFC couldn't afford to give them this many away. And now they're at a point where it's got to be up to EG to make mistakes. I don't think MUFC have any control of this game.
MUFC is definitely going to be feeling a little bit kind of shell-shocked after that whole exchange. I mean, honestly, bdiz really hasn't been doing anything but farming for the last, I would say, 10 to 15 minutes. They had that one team fight in their jungle, but that was pretty much it. And when your supports are able to really just sit back and not have to do anything, and you're being pressured solely by the heroes who are the primary farmers, like Invoker, like the Batrider and the Lifestealer, then things are definitely going downhill. They get another tower, no contention whatsoever. maelk picks up the kill, so that's more gold going back into EG's pocket, and things are quickly getting out of hand. And we talked about it at the beginning. It's like a Lifestealer late game against the kind of a team that MUFC has. It's kind of the same story in game number 1, where the Tiny bought a BKB. Well, Nakes has a built-in BKB, and if you think about being Magic Immune against the team that MUFC has, what do they have, really, to take out the Lifestealer?
Oh my god, net dropping so low, but not able... It gets annoying for the supports as well at this point. Just the harassment from the Prophet ultimate. Each have a lot of long-range potential. It's not just the Lifestealer and the Batrider jumping in, it's also the Sunstrikes, it's the long range of the Forge Spirits, and the Prophet ult that can bounce through. And it's getting to a point in this game where not only does EG have more heroes that scale well, but MUFC have supports that just don't offer you all that much against Rage, against BKBs, against such a mobile lineup. In theory, Disruptor is great in a 5v5 clash, but when are they going to find one? It's always EG just getting the jump with the Blink Daggers, but with the Prophet TPing in after the fact. I just don't know if they're ever going to be able to find the kinetic field, the static storm, the comp with the illuminating blast over the top that they're hoping for.
Well, it's really what they need. It's not really so much a hope for them, it's a necessity. I mean, I absolutely agree with what you're saying. It's just, if they don't, then how do they win a team fight? Like, they have to basically rely on that Disruptor, the big Queen of Pain ultimate, a decent Orchid on maybe somebody like Jeyo or probably bdiz to stop him from putting down wards. And at the end of the day, the teamfight coordination for them is now paramount. Where before, it's like they had the advantage. Their early game went quite well. They were applying a lot of pressure. It didn't hurt them tremendously if they got a hero picked off here and there, but now it hurts a lot because the Aegis has been out for that long, and Jeyo just disintegrates Broodmother on the opposite side of the map with help of the Sunstrike and an Aegis Prophet ultimate. And maelk trying to run away from Sharky top, and he's actually saving his hacks very intelligently, so yeah, maelk's not just going to die.
Yeah, maelk is gonna... No, maybe not. The Tornado Deafening Blast Meteor combo. Sharky blinking away. He's still burning from the Meteor. He barely lives. The Batrider Lifestealer combo. You're blinking, you'll miss it. Setting up that kill in the bottom lane. Jeyo to claim it. And EG just, at this point, just really flexing their muscles. Finding kills all over the map. Nightstalker's going back for an Aghanim Scepter. The vision will help, I suppose. It gets harder to come up with those smoke ganks from the Batrider. But EG are also at a point where they don't need to rely on that as much anymore. They don't need that cheeky little Blink Infest, Firefly Infest. They may use it, but they can almost just fight 5v5 with all these hexes, with Jeyo having an Aghanims. And with the Necro 3 that's coming out soon on maelk, he's got the mech, he's got the Necro 3, he's only about 100 gold away. The item discrepancy is getting a little ridiculous at this point.
Yeah, the golden experience swing in the last 10 to 15 minutes of the game has been pretty phenomenal in favor of EG, and that's to their credit. They managed to put enough pressure on MUFC in terms of, yeah, we're going double Midas, now you have to play aggressive. It's a really interesting way of thinking about it, because it makes the other team force the fights. Normally, you would say, okay, well, we can still kind of go late game, because if they're just going a normal build, it's no big deal, but Invoker and the Lifestealer both got them. So it's like the longer we wait, the worse it's going to get. And we obviously can't go for later Midas because at that point we're always going to be behind. And Nightstalker really, I think, is another thing that hasn't really been being felt that effectively. I mean, he's 0-3 and 6. I mean, there haven't really been a whole lot of kills in this game, to say the least, but he's been involved in less than half of his team fight kills, and he's just barely got his BKB Aghanims at about 33 minutes, which I suppose isn't bad, but we're going to see an engagement top here as well.
Yeah, Demon and Fear catching out Ken dropping low, but does have the BKB, and now Fear TPing away. Once again, EG, Demon will be the one to fall for this. He'll be the one to pay as the Shadow Strike and the Glimpse back in, trapped in the kinetic field, and will be brought down. I just love how Fear's like, I'm not going down with this ship. Rage, immediate TP out. The nice thing this time, though, is they're buying time for the Roshan, which is well underway.
More good decision-making by EG, I gotta say. And how often do we say that picking up the Midas is actually a good idea because of the way that things worked out in terms of the mid-game? And now we're gonna see a fight around Roshan as well. Looks like Sharky wants to go for bdiz in the backside right here. Hex is gonna go off, but he finds Fear as soon as bdiz goes down. So a Queen of Pain for a support, not really the best trade.
Fear is here, and Fear is freaking massive. Look at him just mauling Ohaiyo, who BKBs just to survive. Jeyo, out of mana, has that Hex... No, never mind, cooldown is not there, but Cold Snap on Ken. Ken just trying to run for his life. Nightstalker so much less impressive without the wings, and meanwhile, another kill happens on the back end of play. Surprisingly, 3 supports drop for EG, but they don't kill Fear, they don't kill Jeyo, and Jeyo still has the Aegis. In the midst of all that, he did manage to pick it up. And losing this Queen of Pain again, it seems like a game where we need a Queen of Pain who's got a Daedalus, who's got a BKB, who's just got a ton of damage items on top of, you know, the standard sort of BKB hex. And at this point, I don't think there's any catching up. They've got to just keep on finding pickoffs, baiting EG into some bad fights, and that's something EG are known for. They like to be really aggressive. So I would like to see MUFC maybe smoke up behind a hero, maybe have just a few waiting. Because you gotta bet, sooner or later, Fear and Demon are gonna come hunting, and maybe this time they can pick off Fear before he gets away.
Well, MUFC, again, they have to make something happen. Sharky has done a pretty good job of keeping his farm pretty relevant, I would say, to what everyone else is at. But ultimately, even with the highest CS in the game at this point, he's falling behind in overall net worth just because of the tower difference, losing team fights repeatedly. And obviously, they just lost the Roche right there. So, I mean, this is a point in the game where EG is feeling very, very confident with their next couple of team fights. And, I mean, what are they going to do, really? If there's any more items picked up on Fear, what are they going to do to be able to kill him? They have absolutely zero physical damage output. They have to catch him with a Hex. They have to catch him with their entire combo before the rage goes off, or they're just going to die to him.
Yeah, we're seeing one of the weaknesses of the Night Stalker as well. Not what a cheeky glimpse on the Demon. Not going to accomplish anything. Night Stalker is not a good farming hero. He's similar to Chaos Knight in that you really need to find kills to be effective. And sure, some of these EG heroes aren't great natural farmers. Invoker's not a particularly great farmer. Lifesteal is okay. But because they got the Midases, they can make up for that fact. Night Stalker, not so much. He wasn't effective early, and there's no plan B. That's the issue with the picking a hero like this and then not getting the kills early. When IG were running Night Stalker, it was always with a bounty hunter, so he gets more gold through track. Then they also had Sven, who really helped them to tower dive with Warcry, just giving him so much armor that he's virtually unkillable. EG just really, I think, understanding what MUFC wanted to do, and then MUFC making some critical mistakes. And well, at this point, it's got to go back the other way. I think it comes down to EG making a few. It's hard for them to make mistakes, though, and they have so much margin for error with the good vision around the river, with the mobility, with the Aegis on Jeyo. How can MUFC force one, though? That's the question. I guess it's a smoke. This is usually what you try and do. Keeper of the Light, not smoke, so maybe he'll be the bait, but when you see a support farming a lane by himself, at this point in the game and 4 heroes missing, not much of a bait. Pretty obvious it's a 4-man, 5-man smoke.
Well, this is really all they can do. I mean, really, what does MUFC have to fall back on at this point? They don't have anybody on their team who's feeling farmed to the point where they can feel confident letting this game go any longer against EG. It's almost 37 minutes in, and we're looking at a Lifestealer with a Basher. He's got a Mjolnir, Armlet, Midas, Treads. He's probably going for an Abyssal Blade. He might even go for something more tanky just so he can sustain in those team fights if he does manage to get caught out by a Hex or a Silence or anything like that. That's what they absolutely need. But since every single fight he starts infested in somebody, that makes it so hard for them to catch him out. If they go on somebody else, like we saw Sharky basically engage onto bdiz around the Roche pit after the Roshan had already fallen, he basically killed himself to get Fear to come out. And if you do that as one of your most farmed heroes, and then the most farmed hero on the other team kills yours, how do you win that fight? That's really the question that you have to ask. And Lifestealer getting a free blink, basically, from anybody that he wants, it means his mobility issues that he usually suffers from are non-existent here. I think that the drafting and the playstyle of EG this game has been pretty darn good, to be totally honest, and I think it caught MUFC off guard a little bit.
Right, this is not something you expect. The triple Midas, the Lifestealer bomb from a Bat Rider. It's a little bit unorthodox. Sure, they've run it before in this tournament, but I'm guessing MUFC maybe didn't watch those games or just thought that they could just play the matchup better. And you're right about the trade-offs. It's like if you're playing a game of chess and you give up your queen to get a pawn. You know, it's not an acceptable trade. You're gonna have a very hard time coming back from that. MUFC do
see what you did there, by the way.
I try, man. I try. And well, now they do force high ground. And EG, do they even have TP scrolls? They do on a few of their heroes. This is surprising. EG are giving away way more tier 3 tower downs than they should be, but it looks like they'll be able to defend anyway. And the fight will break out. Demon in the middle of this, and Fear as well, bashing down Sharky first. Now going on to Ken. Ken hoofing it out of there. Ken will survive for the moment, but not doing what he wants to do, which is be in the middle of the fight like a good Night Stalker would like to. Now the Hex on ohaiyo, locked down, picked off, easy kill, 3 heroes dead. EG late to the fight, but timely enough in the end, it turns out. Ling, now with the TP away. TP forward from the Prophet, trying to catch him, not going to. When it's all said and done, 3 heroes dead. EG defend. They take some tier 3 damage, but nothing that they can't deal with. And now I think it's time to go push.
They lose their two most important heroes again. I mean, Sharky
In fact, they're
and
three
Night
most
Stalker,
important, I would say.
they've been dying every single fight. That is like the worst case scenario for MUFC. They can't afford for those heroes to be dead. They can't afford for that downtime and silent pushes, especially against heroes like Nature's Prophet, because now EG already had mid push pretty significantly. They're going to cut the creep wave off, and they're just going to go ahead and run down middle lane, and they have to back it up. But Coddle is pretty good against counter spam, so we'll see if they can actually defend against this. Ling's doing everything he can, but Shadow Shaman Wards, unfortunately, don't really care about Illuminate.
They don't, nor do the Forge Spirits when they're not affected by it, nor does Jeyo doing insane amounts of damage and popping Alacrity off. The tower's getting low. They gotta go soon. Keeper of the Light gets jumped by the Nyx bomb, and once again, Glimpse is too late. Batrider sent back, but the damage already done. Fear with a double kill. Hex onto 2. Deafening Blast. Not gonna do anything to Sharky, but you gotta deal with Fear. You can't deal with Fear when he's bashing everyone. That's the issue right now for MUFC. 2 heroes dead again. Third to follow. Fear is here, and Fear is disgustingly tanky, incredibly hard to bring down. Sunstrike narrowly missing Ken. Demon really wants this. He's going to dive the fountain. Flame Break to secure that final kill. And it looks like EG are going to take another series with a 1-1 tie. MUFC tapping out.
Well, the GG's come out, and EG, excuse me, most of GG brings it to 1-1, but yeah, it's a 1-1, so ultimately EG manages to get a game under their belt as well as MUFC. And game number 1, I would have said after watching that I think that MUFC kind of had a leg up. The ping differences obviously make a bit of a difference, but we don't like to talk about that here. This is all about decision-making Dota. This is much more of a chess game than an FPS, so I feel like these games were an example of how EG can actually adapt, and I feel like they still have a lot of room to grow as a team. And after seeing something like this, which I'll be honest, I don't think I've seen Triple Midas very much. So,
this is,
at the very least, they made it work for them against a team where I would have said to you before this, if I saw those picks and those items, I would have said that EG would have lost at like 25-30 minutes because they would have had no map control. But they managed to force enough mistakes out of MUFC to pull it out, and very, very well done, I must say.
Yeah, and it really is Demon on the Batrider that makes it happen, because when he finds those kills, we talked about, he creates space for the whole team, and he buys them at least a minute or so of time where a key hero's off the map, plus you get the hero kill golden experience. Really interesting play from EG. Second time they've won with the Triple Midas strat. Can they do it again? We'll see. This team, it's all about the cheese, whether it's the Knight strat or the Triple Midas. They never win standard. It's like they're allergic to it. But let's see. Can EG beat the top dogs? That's now the story, the question for them. IG and LGD are next on their plates, and so far they haven't actually won a Series 2-0, so they're in a decent spot to advance. Again, as we look at the standings, only one team will be eliminated from each group, and EG sort of in the middle of the pack, City at 2-2. MUFC dropped to 1-3, only having 1 point, EG having 2, and then Sequential Gaming tied up with MUFC. So we'll see, guys, but I am LD, and of course he is Draskyl. Draskyl, thank you for joining me. I think the viewers enjoyed it, and more importantly, I did. It was great having you aboard. Of course, you guys can follow Draskyl if you'd like. He's got a Twitter, twitter.com/Draskyl. Pretty easy for that. And then his live stream, twitch.tv/Draskyl with 2 L's. Draskyl, any shout-outs for the people? Any words of wisdom?
A shout out to Bruno for letting me steal his picture for the overlay before we actually got the games underway. And of course, thanks for inviting me, man. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, if you're up at odd hours, if you're failing to sleep like your mom wants you to, then you're always welcome here as long as I don't have a co-caster. I love having you aboard. Guys, I don't think Draskyl is going to be able to stay up for the second series, so unfortunately, he's told me he's got some obligations. He's got some things to do, like sleeping, I would hope. So it is, what, 3 in the morning over there?
Yeah, it's 3:01 right now, and I woke up at midnight to wake up in Cassie. That just shows my dedication, not only to Dota, but to my friends, because LD, you are a good friend, and I will wake up at midnight to cast Dota with you, man.
I love you too, man, and I'll be sending you that sonnet as an ode to our relationship after this cast is over. Only for your eyes only, though. For your eyes only.
I'll remember that. But yeah, I definitely had a good time. I look forward to doing it again, man.
Yeah, anytime you'd like. So, guys, that's going to wrap it up for this series.